everybody, and welcome to another episode of Your Big Music Moment. I'm your host, Chris Sharma. We come at you here every Thursday at 6 p.m. Got a special treat tonight. Lauren Davidson is joining us, and we're going to be able to juxtapose a little bit of what she's up to now, where she's going after kind of macro social event of the pandemic that has affected live musicians so much, and talk about what she did during. So I think it's really going to be exciting, and as always, Lauren is an amazing performer. We're lucky to have her. Before that, just a shout out to our partner musicians on call who bring the healing power of music to those in need. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Lauren Davidson.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent. Well, I think you were right on it. So let's play some music.
Yeah, let's get this started. Threw a 50 on mahogany just to see how far it get me. Maybe somewhere where you don't leave. Pour me something in this rocks glass. Watch it disappear fast, like it did in that Cadillac. By last call, I won't recall. You ain't coming back. Hey, halfway to hungover, here's the feeling that I still got inside. I'm not drunk, but I ain't sober. And I'm getting over you tonight. I'm almost there, where the hurt and the bird go down smooth. I'm halfway to hungover, hardly over you. Make me beg you for another shot, 'cause right now you're all that I got. One more before you cut me off. I'll go home under a sunrise, try not to think about your eyes and the thought that I got lost in them for the last time. There's no use, I can't use your goodbye. Hey, halfway to hungover, the feeling that I still got inside. I'm not drunk, but I am sober. Getting over you tonight. I'm almost there, where the hurt and the bird go down smooth. I'm halfway to hungover, hardly over. Hardly over. Come morning, I'll be hurting, but it'll be worth it if I forget you're gone. I'm halfway to hungover, feeling the feeling that I still got inside. I'm not drunk, but I am sober. Getting over you tonight. I'm almost there, where the hurt and the burn go down smooth. I'm halfway to hungover, hardly over you. Hardly over. Threw a 50 on mahogany just to see how far it'd get me. Maybe somewhere where you don't believe. Yeah.
Woo! That's a jam right there.
Thank
Wow.
you.
Welcome. Um, I know that you first came on the show, I almost want to say a year ago when we were just starting
Has
out
it
this
been
whole
that
journey.
long?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I know, I know. So welcome back as always.
Thank you.
But before we get into what that year has brought and what we're looking forward to coming up, what is what in a nutshell, how are you how did you get to where you are? What was that journey like being in New York, yet being a country singer? Like,
Yeah. Well,
how'd that happen?
it's so funny to talk about all this because like to get to where you are, where for the past year has just been here in New York. I've spent more time in New York in the past year than I have in a very long time. But my dad is a singer songwriter, or was a singer songwriter when he was younger. So music was just something that I have always loved and have always known and have been around my entire life. And I loved singing at a very young age. And I grew up heavily influenced by music my parents were listening to, a lot of singer songwriters, Billy Joel, Elton John, Stevie Nicks, Fleetwood Mac. And as music changed over the past few years, kind of found that storytelling, which is something that I'm so passionate about, was really no longer prevalent in rock music and
Mhm.
pop music. And it was just the core of country music and the driving factor that made me fall in love with that music. So when I decided to kind of gear that way, even though I had never grown up really listening to country music, or so I thought, until except for like the pop crossover women of the
Right.
90s, which is like, I'm going to do it my way and I'm going to tell my stories about where I'm from and my experiences. And it just kind of took on a life of its own. So here we are.
Well, that's amazing. And it almost seems like too, there's a little juxtaposition in your music. There's a little bit more power. It's like it's like you mentioned, the pop country. This is,
Yeah.
beautiful pop song structures, but it's the instrumentation is stronger, and the themes are stronger as well. And so that's interesting that you've been able to put that rock and roll somehow snuck in a little bit too into what
Yeah,
you're
I think
doing.
for me it was so important just to have like real organic instruments. Like I
Right.
kind of started my career just by writing a handful of songs and throwing them up on a stage with a band. So before I even released music, I was performing my music. And I've been on a stage, my whole life, whether it was singing covers or I grew up doing theater. So being on a stage was something that I've always known and always loved and have, still want to continue to do for a very long time. So having these real organic instruments and just playing music before ever even stepping into a studio. So I think
Right.
it's definitely
Right.
influenced that journey as well.
I mean, right. So this music was birthed, on stage, or at least in your mind, it's on stage, and then it's going to the production after that.
At
And
least at
and
first, not
right,
everything now. I think starting with the music that I released last year was kind of the first time that no audience had heard that music until it was released, and I thought that that was like something cool and special for me. And then, of course, the pandemic hit, and there was no real performing anyway. So it was, I was playing songs for people for the first time out of my
right,
apartment. But there was something special about it too. The fact that I kind of was getting to like reveal pieces of myself in a different way as opposed to in a live setting, and kind of seeing what, releasing music that I personally connected to for different reasons and hope that my fans would, because they, have followed my
right,
journey this whole way versus going into the studio to cut and release music that people have already responded to.
right, right. Which is, that's one of the great things about live is you get to see what your audience thinks of your
Yeah, it's
music,
cool.
and you iterate it.
Yeah.
But and speaking of iteration, I mean, you've been, it obviously the pandemic was this kind of macro event in all of our lives, but in the musical lives of performers hugely. And so you kind of adapted, with this concept about urban environment containing country music. And so
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about Urban Country Jam. In fact, why don't let's do this. Let's play the teaser for Urban Country Jam, and
All
let's
right,
come back
let's do
and
it.
talk about
We're gonna rock the packed out house at the cutting room for the first ever Urban Country Jam.
You give, you wish that they felt for you what they do for someone else. It's hell and you fell for the one who never tells you what you want to hear. Yeah, it's patient and it's kind, but sometimes love ain't fair. Laugh at the fact that the one you have ain't the one you want. And it's a shame when you miss the one you ain't with instead of the one you got. Ain't it a
Wow. So that seems really cool and a great, interesting adaptation. So tell us about how that evolved and how that enabled you during the pandemic to explore collaboration
Yeah,
still.
so I've always called my style of music urban country, where it's country
Oh,
music from a city setting because I'm from New York and there is, references of New York and at least if not New York specifically, the life that I've lived my whole life basically um, in my music. So it was kind of country music in country meets city, city meets country, a little bit
right.
of both worlds in that sense. And musically, it's just like a hybrid of all the things that I'm influenced by. So I came up with this idea with my father actually as well. And the idea was kind of to take control of, my own career and also form this collaborative environment amongst artists. So in New York, a lot of the clubs, you can play a club with your band, but it's not a bill. It's not like a country night. There's artists of all different genres playing and it's kind of every man for himself. And I wanted to find a way to create more sense of community amongst artists, initially here in New York, and then hopefully to expand, to other cities. But all cities with, urban settings, whether it be like a Chicago or a Boston or, somewhere that is not the country and not Nashville. There's a sense of community because of music in Nashville that I don't feel like is really anywhere else. I think it's kind of unique to the city and it's so motivating and inspiring. And I wanted to bring a little bit of that home here in New York and have some of that collaborative environment amongst artists and fans alike. And then, so we did that first show at the Cutting Room. It was a sold out show in February of 2020. And then the pandemic hit and we had all these plans to kind of travel around and to do more shows in New York. Obviously, everything got canceled. And I wanted to find a way to still connect with artists, even though we all had to be home by ourselves. And obviously, everyone has kind of found ways to take this virtual over the past year and change. But something that was really important to me was to still have that collaborative support amongst artists and also to be able to compensate artists because everyone was really hurting over the
Right.
past year. And all these live streams are happening all the time, which are so great. But even like this, it's just me and you. So it
Right.
was cool to kind of be able to connect with other artists and then also to compensate them for their time, in the time of in the crazy year, I guess, that we've been having. And now, as we start to see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, we do have another virtual show on April 24th. So that's very soon. And then,
And you can just find that Urban Country Jam, just and then April 24th, and on your socials, everyone can figure
yeah,
out where to
yeah.
go and how to see it. Okay,
Yeah, if you go to
awesome,
my socials, LaurenDavidsonMusic.com or Lauren Davidson Music on Facebook, there's event
great.
pages, and that event will be on Facebook as well.
Uh, we'll shout
Then
it out on Big Music, of course, too.
yeah, thank you, my friends. I appreciate you. And then we are looking, to get back into venues once it's, safe and able to do so. I mean, a lot of venues are starting to open at a more limited capacity. But the main idea behind it is to have multiple artists. So, and once venues can open at a larger capacity, we'll definitely be back. And I'm excited to relaunch it and get back in a room with other artists and with musicians and country music fans alike. It's going to be really exciting.
That's fantastic. I mean, maybe one of the takeaways of this whole us being sequestered is the importance of community. And in musicians, it's
Yeah.
always been a strong, fun community to be a part of. But it, I think this has shown us how we're all in it together, as musicians and as musical entities, because the collaboration is what makes kind of a lot of special, even like a band, is when a
Yeah.
band gets cooking and they're collaborating is
Yeah.
amazing. So maybe is that same metaphor for all of us as a community is really important. So it's amazing you've been kind of
Absolutely.
in the pandemic, you were still focusing on that versus the lone wolf. So I think that will
Yeah.
support this going forward.
Yeah, I think
So
music is so special and it connects people. And in a year, specifically when we were feeling so alone, music was so needed and so important. But like you mentioned, that sense of community was just an extra layer that was more important to me. I could sit here and play music all day by myself, but it's not the same
mhm,
as collaborating with other musicians and other artists and other creative minds.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, right on. I mean, although you sitting there playing music by yourself is fantastic too. So,
sometimes
we
it
look
is.
forward to hearing a couple more tracks here. So, right. But I think adding it to the larger context is amazing, and I'm sure I'm sure all the artists that I know the artists that you've been working with are grateful for someone on the inside providing a platform for them. So, Urban
I
Country
mean,
Jam, everybody, check it out.
yeah.
It's really important to go support.
Yeah, I mean, I'm grateful too that artists,
Um,
are interested. I get to connect with artists that I just think are talented and that I'm a fan of for all different reasons. It's been really
yeah.
exciting and really fulfilling, and I can't wait to see what's next.
Yeah. I know. I mean, I know, from some of our other dealings offline that you have your finger on the pulse of what's going on in the evolution of country music and all these different folks that are joining the fray and making amazing music. So I can't wait to see who else you've got on.
Yeah.
You want to play some more tracks for us now?
Yeah, let's do it. So I mentioned that I released an EP last year, and it's called "Love Ain't Fair," and this is the title track. Hey, was a sweet southern gentleman opening the door, and then we were just a couple of teens seeing how far these hearts could reach. Should have been all I'd ever need, but he wasn't right for me. And I was so blind in love with someone else's guy, trying to find any way just to make that boy all mine. But sometimes ain't the right time. Hey, ain't it a bitch when you don't get what you give? You wish that they felt for you what they do for someone else. It's hell when you fell for the one who never tells you what you want to hear. Yeah, it's patient and it's kind, but sometimes love ain't fair. Gotta laugh at the fact that the one you have ain't the one you want. And it's a when you miss the one you ain't with instead of the one you got. She, yeah, had the world in her hand, could have had any man, but he wouldn't leave what he had with Jack without Jackie. Well, that she was history. Hey, ain't it a bitch when you don't get what you give? You wish that they felt for you what they do for someone else. It's hell when you fell for the one who never tells you what you want to hear. Yeah, it's patient and it's kind, but sometimes love ain't fair. Love ain't fair. Ain't it a bitch when you don't get what you give? You wish that they felt for you what they do for someone else. It's hell when you fell for the one who never tells you what you want to hear. Yeah, it's patient and it's kind, but sometimes love ain't fair. Gotta laugh at the fact that the one you have ain't the one you want. And it's when you miss the one you ain't with instead of the one you got. Yeah, ain't it a bitch? Fair. Hey.
Awesome. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
And that was a title track of your EP previously released.
Yeah, Loving Fair. So I had picked all of my favorite songs that I had been writing over the course of the year and change. Getting ready to go into the studio, just kind of picked my favorite songs that I was writing, while I was playing shows. So
Right.
kind of finally sat down, picked my favorite songs, and realized that all of them had this common theme centered around love, but not a traditional love song about how love is many things, but it ain't fair. And the fact that that was one of the songs, and one of the first songs that we recorded, it just made perfect sense to me to be the title
Yeah.
track and
I
kind of
mean,
kick
yeah,
off the year.
it's a universal, that is a universal theme for sure.
Yeah.
And so the whole EP was centered around that kind of those love songs, non-traditional love songs as well.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Finding love, losing love, loving someone who doesn't love you back, loving yourself. Yeah,
Right.
all of those
Oh,
things.
yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Awesome. Coming up next is the next track you're going to play. Was that part of that EP as well, or
No, so
are we
so I
branching out?
decided, yeah, so I decided after that music was released to kind of continue to do the same thing and release another EP this year as singles. And because of the pandemic, I wrote last year more songs than I ever have in a year. And I thought that they were some of the most personal and mm, uh, not all of them are intimate, but some of the most personal songs, I guess, that I have
Mhm.
ever written. And all of them are kind of reflective on things that I was going through, feeling, or experiencing in these four walls of my New York City apartment after the pandemic hit. So it's called Hindsight is 2020. They're all songs written, recorded, and now
Oh, wow.
released from here in New York City in these walls that you've been seeing virtually for the past year and change. And the last song that I'm going to play for you is my current single. It's called Backfire. And this song came from, losing all of my work for the foreseeable future and trying to figure out new ways to connect with people and kind of almost restart and rethink the way that I've approached my career and kind of lighting the match and letting it all blow up and lighting the match inside of me and sparking my own fire to kind of drive me through the difficult times. And this is called Backfire.
Backfire.
Before this life gets good, before I'm understood, I know it gets a little harder. And when it breaks my heart, I keep my eyes beyond the stars, 'cause I want to go farther. Maybe a bridge that I'm burning, but I know it's worth it. I light the match and wait for the backfire. Watch it burn so fast, feel the flames grow higher. With every breath that I'm holding on for my moment. I light the match and wait for the backfire. Wait for the backfire. Wait for the backfire. No, it's hard to see. It may sound a little crazy, but I need to start over. Before the smoke fades and it turns to ashes, I'm in the middle with a new set of matches. That's how I'm getting closure. I light the match and wait for the backfire. Watch it burn so fast, feel the flames go higher. With every breath that I'm holding on for my moment. I light the match and wait for the backfire. Wait for the backfire. Wait for the backfire. where the good and the bad collide. I get to decide. I get to decide. I light the match and wait for the backfire. Watch it burn so fast, feel the flames grow high. Girl, I light the match and wait for the backfire. Watch it burn so fast, feel the flames grow high. With every breath that I'm holding out for my moment. I light the match and wait for the backfire. 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 Before this life gets good, before I'm understood, I know it gets a little harder. Thank you.
Great. I think that's an amazing song to conclude on, and your message of knowing things are hard, and that goodness comes after that, and oftentimes because of what we have to endure when things are hard is I think that's a great message to conclude on, and something that we admire for you for embodying. So thank you for all your work, and thanks for being here, Lauren.
Thank you for having me. It's always good to chat with you.
Take care. See you soon. Lauren Davidson, ladies and gentlemen, amazing artist and friend of big music. Lucky, as always, to have her on. We'll come at you next Thursday, 6 p.m. So check it out. More great live music. As always, big music supports Black Lives Matter and the cause of social justice. See you next Thursday. Live to listen, everyone.